Tomáš Zídek, I'm back. For more content, check out my website tomaszidek.com.
Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Bang! Chris Iveson, my favorite person in the solution-focused world, says that there are two rules to every conversation that you should stick to make it a meaningful conversation. Those are turn-taking and circularity. The rule of turn-taking is a very simple one. In every conversation, the participants should both contribute. If they do not, then you're not sticking to this rule. And if you're not sticking to this rule of turn-taking, that means you have a monologue, like I have, right now. It's a wonderful experience. It's not a conversation. The rule of circularity is also a fairly simple one. By adhering to the rule of circularity, you are making sure that you are reacting to the things that were already said, that you are building on top of something that has already been created. When you do not adhere to the rule of circularity, you're saying something that is not connected to what the counterparty said. It's not related. It's an off-topic. By respecting those two rules, turn-taking and the rule of circularity, we make sure that the conversation is meaningful. So keep in mind, my friend, two rules to make every conversation a meaningful one. Circularity and turn-taking. Take turns, do not have endless monologues, and react to the content that has been already created. By respecting those two simple rules, you make sure that you can achieve something, that the conversation will have meaning. The question might be, is this all? It might be, but as professionals, there is more. Professional conversations are different. Professional conversation is a conversation where the two parties agreed to achieve something. And usually there is money. Well, it's not that important. The most important thing is that there is an agreed goal that you should achieve. So let's think about professional conversations. How do they differ? Chris Iveson says that one of the most important rules in every professional conversation is that the professional should not seek more information about the client that is necessary for the job in hand. What does that mean? Well, in every conversation, there are multiple possibilities, almost unlimited possibilities, what to react to. You might get curious about certain aspects of what was said. Ask yourself a question. How will this benefit my client? If you cannot answer this simple question, you should probably not ask this question. That means always ask questions that will benefit your client. Do not get curious about things that are not beneficial for your client. This was already defined by Bill O'Hanlon as a sightseeing in client's life. And let me give you an example what sightseeing in client's life might look like. Well, just imagine that the client said something like, well, this situation is difficult. It's almost as difficult when I was going to school. And you might be curious, where did the client go to school? And you ask a question, and where did you go to school? And the client says, well, who cares? The thing is, how does this benefit the client? What is the added value for the client? Probably, when you think about it, there's no added value for the client when the client answers the question. It's more valuable for you because you became curious. Coaching and solution-focused conversations are about the client. It's not about the coach. Always keep in mind that every client can ask you a simple question. Why do you need to know that? If you are competent and professional and educated, you will always be able to answer such a question. If you are not able to answer such a question, you might lose the client's trust and you might get in trouble. We all have experienced moments in our life when we felt that someone is probably asking intrusive questions that they should not ask. It happens very often that sometimes someone calls you and asks you, "Hello, mister, when was the last time, do you want this? No, I do not want this. And the most important thing, I do not want to answer such a question." So when you engage with a professional, you expect that the professional is asking questions, is communicating with you for a specific purpose. When you're not sure about the purpose, you can ask and see what is the purpose of such a question. So again, if you do not know why you're asking the question, keep in mind the client might ask you, and then you will have to answer such a question. There's another thing every solution-focused professional is familiar with, and that is elective listening or constructive listening. In every conversation, there are almost infinite number of possibilities what to react to. Let me give you one example. Just imagine that a client came into your office. You ask the client, "Did it take long to get here?" A simple opener of a social conversation. And the client says, "It took longer than usual, but it didn't take that long. It was mainly because I took my husband's car." Well, that's a very ordinary and a common reply. Just think about the possibilities that you have, what to react to. You can ask multiple questions here. You can ask, "Why did you take your husband's car? How long did it actually take? How long does it usually take? How long would it need to take for you to say that it was too long?" And there are other things that you might inquire about. These decisions, what to react to, are one of the most important decisions every solution-focused practitioner needs to make. Depending on the education, depending on your background, you will make different decisions. Let's take a look how a solution-focused reply might look like. Just imagine that you have a client and the client is telling you about the problem with his boss. And the client says, "Me and my boss, we had a really great relationship. Just recently, the relationship is getting worse and worse every day. We have these fights, we argue a lot, and my boss threatened me with firing me." The solution-focused practitioner might probably become curious about a certain aspect of what has been said. But this is different than in a regular conversation. The solution-focused practitioner will probably ask about, and what was different about those times when you had the great relationship? As you can see, a solution-focused practitioner will build on something different than a regular consultant, for example. A solution-focused practitioner will probably focus more on strength rather than on deficits. Will try to invite the client to speak about the times when things were working, to explore what might be some ways to progress in this situation, because the solution is already in there. Maybe you are thinking what you would ask in this situation. You might be thinking, "And what is wrong with the boss? How does it happen when you two argue? What makes him angry about you?" If those questions came up into your mind, I do not blame you. I am not angry about you, but I'm disappointed. I'm disappointed because you have not watched my first video that explains what is coaching. So let me repeat it again. Coaching is not consulting. Just think about the questions you just said that came into your mind. I heard you. You just said it. I got you. Why do you have those arguments? Why is your boss angry with you? But what is the direction of the conversation now? You are selecting for the client to analyze the problem. So is coaching about analyzing the problem? After you have analyzed the problem sufficiently, what options do you have now? advice, the solution, go home, eat a cheeseburger, maybe. Problem talk creates problems. Solution talk creates solutions. Talking about a problem might be interesting, might be a nice discussion. And I observe a lot of people spending tremendous time talking about problems. The sad thing about this is talking about a problem makes you an expert in the problem. So you became an expert in the problem. Well, what about building solutions? It's one of the key tenets of solution focus. Analyzing the problem is not bringing you closer to the solution. You're just being an expert in the problem. And this is the end of the first part because I talk so much, so we need to cut it in 2 parts. Have you enjoyed today's show the same way I did? Then hit the subscribe!